My name is Yao Kahlil Newkirk, and I am a descendant of Peyton Harris.
This story begins not in a library or a church, but with a question. Who was Peyton Harris? And why does his name still echo through Buffalo's history? For Yao Kahlil, that question became personal. He discovered he was not only a descendant of Harris, but also related to activist Mary Burnett Talbert.
I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to speak with multiple historians. For Dr. Lillian Williams, I've spoken with her, and she had done work on a great aunt of mine, Mary Talbert.
What is that process like for you when you're just trying to find something?
Well, first of all, I try to find the people that, in this case, Mary Talbert, had been in communication with. What organizations was she a member of? Who were the members of that organization? What was their relationship? And then, of course, the institutional records. She was a president of the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs. So, okay, I knew that. Let me try to get their record. You can check the census data first to see what they might have there, or property records too. He was in slavery, so there had to have been some records from the slaveholders. You can pursue that avenue. And of course, newspapers, especially if he escaped from slavery, there might have been an advertisement.
After speaking with Dr. Lillian Williams, Yao knew he had to dig deeper. His next stop was the Buffalo Library, flipping through directories, unrolling maps, chasing every faded clue that could bring Peyton Harris's story into sharper focus.
And then we get into more specifics. So African American groups, local. So I'd say we start with this one.
Okay.
I'll put those over there. And admittedly, you're just gonna have to flip through them, see what you find.
So during the process of discovery, I ended up going down the rabbit's hole. And I figured out that if you fall down the rabbit's hole long enough, you end up in Wonderland. And that's in this massive amount of information, and you are trying to make heads or tails of all or any of it.
Even after hours in the library, gaps still remained. The story wasn't whole. That's when the staff pointed him toward the Buffalo History Museum.
So today we are at the Buffalo History Museum. We're at the Buffalo History Museum, and we're going through the archives. I don't know what we're going to find.
Lloyd Street was excavated, so you have like the cobblestones of Lloyd Street and Prime Street.
Yeah, but there's no index like with names and all that stuff, so I would have to go through every page to search for his.
Yeah.
So Maine and Clinton, 1850. Everything is just all over the place. And every piece of information you discover leads you to another place, and then that leads you to somewhere else. And
But even the History Museum could only take him so far. His search carried him to Albany, into the state archives, where boxes of brittle documents and handwritten records held the next missing pieces of Peyton Harris's story.
I was informed that there was a boat registry at the New York State Archives that would list the owners of canal boats. So I thought it would be a great idea to take a special trip to Albany, New York, just so I could spend time in the archives, combing through the registry to hopefully find a more concrete connection to Peyton and the canal boats.
Yao found not a single file or two, but carts of records, cases stacked high, the evidence of a canal system that shaped New York's economy. Were these the same boats that allowed Harris to build his fortune? No definitive answers, but clues. Clues worth chasing.
There were cases and cases and cases. They had to bring out an entire 2 carts that were filled with cases of documents. This canal boat registry. That was it was an experience.
But I think that there certainly is, with the reference in the obituaries to him in the Talbot obituary, which was 1892, and then in his own obituary, that the newspapers would not have necessarily printed that information if there wasn't some truth in it. And I've seen several documents that, in terms of his obituary, in terms of Robert Talbert's obituary, that document that he did have boats on the Erie Canal. So, and he most definitely was an abolitionist, and given the prominence of the Michigan Street Baptist Church and its engagement in the Underground Railroad, I believe no doubt was engaged in the Underground Railroad. So those are some of the early pieces of this history. But he has such a rich history related to the history and development of the African American community in Buffalo.
Sorry. If I wanted to, as both a descendant and a scholar, build on your research, what areas do you think are the most important to explore further?
I would say kind of going back to the beginning, and exploring the history of, if possible, and I know you've done research on this already, so the information may not be there, but again, how he got to Buffalo, what the process, or I don't know about the process, but how he may have become funded enough to buy 600 acres of land on Grand Island.
Yes.
There, again, getting a bit more information, if possible, on the early time period of his life, which is now certainly much more questionable than that later period after the formation of the Michigan Street Baptist Church. So I would look to that, and look to getting a bit more information about the family members, the children.
This has been a journey. It's been a process, and I was able to find some information, and I'm going to continue searching for additional information. So I think that's it. So this is not really an end for me. It's more so a strong beginning. Yeah.